What's going on, New York Giants fans? Welcome back to another video. If you guys haven't already, hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops, a video drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Today was the 53-man cut down from 80 players. Obviously, it's a tough day in the NFL for players and coaches and owners and general managers and people like that. But to be honest, I was looking forward to this day, not for the reasons of, we're going to cut this many players. No, I wanted to see what the New York Giants did in terms of who they cut, how they shaped up their roster to really put a whole summary on it. And I know a lot of people are excited to see what this team looks like. Obviously, we're not done here because the New York Giants have a practice squad to fill out, a 16-man practice squad. I do apologize. In the past videos, I said that they were reverting back to, I think it was 10-man practice squads. They're doing the 16 thing again, and there's like 6 players you can put on there with any amount of experience. So obviously that's good for the Giants and the waiver wire. So, we've seen in the past guys like Alonzo Russell make the roster, then they get cut because the Giants see somebody on the waiver wire. They say, hey, listen, this guy could be an absolute great pickup, and then they go get whatever guy they like on the waiver wire as long as he's there when they pick. It is the order of the draft, basically. So the Jets have the second pick. The Jaguars have the first pick. I think the Texans have the third pick. I want to say they do. If they don't, the 49ers do, or whatever team does. Obviously, that was the order and stuff like that. I might be messing some stuff up. But anyway, let's actually get into the grind. For the quarterback room, only 2 quarterbacks survived. Obviously, this was expected. Daniel Jones and Mike Lennon survived. Brian Lewerke got cut. Pretty much expected. Did okay in the one game that he did play, which was more the second half of the Cleveland game. So, and he's also a candidate to come back on the practice squad just in case the Giants need another quarterback. In terms of the running back room, one surprise, at least for me, maybe 2 surprises if you count another player. Saquon Barkley, Devontae Booker, obviously, that is a given. Corey Clement was cut, and a lot of people were pointing out the fact that Gary Brightwell was taking first-team snaps against the Patriots, and that Clement was taking second-team snaps. And I said, I don't know if there's too much to take away from that. Well, obviously there was, knowing that Brightwell is on the roster and Clement is not. Clement, obviously, he had his days in Philadelphia as a backup running back and played some special teams, but the Giants needed Gary Brightwell to play a lot of special teams, and they couldn't really do that with Corey Clement, I guess, or whatever the situation may be. It also could be a sign that Saquon Barkley is 90% or 100% or whatever status of health he is at for week 1. So obviously that's good news. Also another surprise, this could happen tomorrow maybe or whatever, but Sandro Platzgummer made the roster. As of right now, he gets the exemption. Maybe they revert him to the practice squad tomorrow or something like that. But the Giants broadcasting crew did state in the preseason game against the Patriots that he is pursuing a career in the medical field, at least from what I heard. So shout-outs to him. Hope he does well. But we'll see what happens with Platzgummer. Obviously, it won't be too much of a big impact if he does make the roster or he doesn't. In terms of the fullbacks, I'm surprised that the Giants have kept 2 fullbacks. I thought Gillespie was going. But as of right now, Gillespie and Penny as fullbacks have made the roster. Penny, was really good in the preseason as a receiving and a running back just in total, on the ground, he was pretty good. Colin Gillespie obviously made his presence on special teams. Didn't really make any spectacular plays, but obviously Joe Judge watches the film on that. We really don't watch any special teams film. In terms of the tight end room, no surprises here. Evan Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, and Caden Smith. We'll see what happens with Evan Ingram in the next few weeks because of his calf injury. There's a little gray area they don't know about, so that's going to come with testing and stuff like that. Nakia Griffin-Stewart and Jake Hausman were cut as well. In terms of the wide receiver room, this is where it gets a little dicey. The receivers on the roster are Kenny Golladay, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney, John Ross, Dante Pettis, and C.J. Board. I didn't expect Board to make the roster, but I had a little insight in terms of my mind, no sources, no nothing. I started thinking, well, if he's still returning kicks after the muff punt, and he's with the first team in terms of receiving, then he's got a shot definitely to make this roster still. And obviously right now he is on the roster. He's a decent receiver. He's nothing special. And, he can return kicks in the kick return game. I think he had a 28 or 29 yard return against the Patriots. So good for him. Dante Pettis, we all thought was somewhat of a long shot to make the roster. His special teams really kicked in. Obviously, he could be a backup kick returner behind Board and John Ross once Ross gets healthy. He was running some routes before practice today in, the situational stuff, which is a good sign for week 1, of course. But in terms of Dante Pettis, we all thought that he was not going to make the roster because of Sills and the other guys. But his late flash obviously got him onto the roster. And before I go into the major cut that a lot of people are disappointed in, I'm going to go into the other cuts in the wide receiver room. Those being Austin Mack, Matt Cole, Damian Willis, and Alex Bachman. In terms of Mack, he didn't play at all in the preseason. They waived him. Injury designation, bye-bye. Maybe he makes the practice squad once he's healthy. We don't know that. Alex Bachman was really, I would say, in my opinion, invisible this preseason. I mean, he did have 2 catches against the Patriots and 1, I believe, against the Jets or the Browns. But other than that, really hasn't done anything in terms of the games, in terms of camp. He played well, but once again, in terms of the games, that's where it counts mostly. Didn't really do anything other than 1 touchdown, of course. In terms of Matt Cole, he was more of a special teams guy. Maybe they keep him on the practice squad if the New England Patriots or another team doesn't claim him, which is something that we shall see tomorrow. Definitely they tried him out at special teams, cornerback and wide receiver. Damian Willis, he caught 2 touchdown passes this preseason. The Hail Mary from Glennon in the 3rd game, and then the 1 deep pass from Clayton Torson in the 1st game. So obviously, he likes getting touchdowns when the Giants are involved. I think in the last 5 preseason games, he's had 3 touchdowns against or in a game involving the Giants. So maybe he makes the practice squad. We'll see what happens. And then the final one, David Sills. A lot of people said about David Sills, being with the second team, basically that, well, he's not making the roster anymore. Like the Corey Clement situation, I started thinking about it. And then I said to myself, well, he was silent with the second team. He only had 1 reception. Though the other one should have been a touchdown because Glennon overthrew him by at least 5 yards. You can't really be silent with the second team. With the first team, if you're a guy like that, sure. But if you're on the second team and you're trying to make the roster and you have no special teams abilities or attributes, it's going to be tough. But, David Sills is gone now. He's probably, in my opinion, going to get picked up by another team. We'll see what happens. Shout-outs to him. His former quarterback at West Virginia, Will Grier, was actually cut. So hopefully they make a roster together. We'll see what happens. In terms of the offensive line room, definitely some shocks here. Here is the offensive line. We'll talk about the Ben Bredeson thing in just a minute. Andrew Thomas, Shane Lemieux, Ben Bredeson, Nick Gates, Will Hernandez, Matt Parrott, Nate Solder, Billy Price. Ben Bredeson, let's talk about him for a minute. So, according to sources, not PFF, he didn't allow any pressures last year. In a total of 10 games with the Baltimore Ravens, he was their 4th-round pick out of Michigan, and he was the 4th best pass blocker on the team. And he had a really good preseason, this past preseason, for lack of better words. He had some good games, some good snaps, whatever, and his job was in question. Why was it in question? Kind of like the freaking Panthers situation. Kevin Zeitler took his job away. Bredeson could have been the right guard for the Ravens, but Zeitler immediately took that away when he signed with the Baltimore Ravens. So obviously that was interesting. But in terms of Ben Bredeson, it's not a bad move for the Giants. They gave up a 4th-round pick for a 5th-round pick, Bredeson and a 7th-round pick. So that's a good return in my opinion. Obviously, you don't want to lose that 4th-round pick because it could mean something. It may not mean something. Obviously, it has to tell going to next year's draft. We'll see what happens. But I'm not going to get too strangled about it, to be honest with you. A lot of Giant fans are saying, well, Dave Gettleman panicked about the offensive line, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so obviously it's a telling thing at the end of the season if this offensive line does not work out. If it doesn't work out, it's on Judge, the O-line coaches, the players, and Dave Gettleman. I'm not holding back any blame in terms of that. But here's what my opinion is, at least. The New York Giants absolutely knew zero about what their depth was going to be coming into the season. They saw the 3 preseason games and said, oh shit, we got to make some moves. Jonathan Harrison was the bright spot. Obviously, we'll get to him in just a minute. Jackson Barton, he played okay. Kenny Wiggins and Ted Larson, meh. Some of the other guys, meh. So they were shitting themselves because of the lack of depth. That's why they went out and got Billy Price. That's why they went out and got Ben Bredeson, whatever. They are 2 high-ceiling guys. They're 2 young guys. These 2 deals are low-risk, high-reward deals. Obviously, both are still on the rookie contracts, Price costing a little more probably because he was a 1st-round pick. Bredeson was a 4th from last year. So, this is a depth move. Both are depth moves for the New York Giants, and I don't see a reason to be mad unless the Giants run out of depth early in the season, like Lemieux gets hurt, and then Price gets hurt, and then Bredeson gets hurt, or something tragic happens. But I don't see a reason right now to question it. Everybody's talking about, oh, well, Trey Smith, the Giants should have got him instead of Gary Brightwell. Okay, if you want to say that, you want to deal with a heart condition? I don't wish anything on anybody. But he had a heart condition. And if the Giants took him, everyone would have freaked out. Oh, Trey Smith, well, we need some guard depth, and he was not the answer. He's playing for the Chiefs now. I don't know if he's going to start because Joe Tooney's there, and then the right guard, I think Tardif is still there. Shout outs to him. He did some good stuff last year when he opted out. But my point is this. Why are we getting so mad and questioning moves already when we haven't even seen these guys in a real game? That's just my question. Anyway, in terms of the cuts, Jake Burton, Brett Hedgie, Jackson Barton was on the roster for like a minute after most of the cuts, and then he got cut. Kenny Wiggins, Ted Larson reportedly placed on IR. Chad Slade, which was kind of a shock to me, but at the same time, I knew they were going to cut him if they were going to bring in other talents. And then Jonathan Harrison. A lot of people questioned this move. And I said this on Twitter, I'll say it again. Between now and tomorrow, a lot of things will change. Waiver wire, practice squad, other moves to be made. Everyone was questioning, oh, well, they kept Ted Larson and they released Jonathan Harrison. Jonathan Harrison was a good center, a backup center for the New York Giants in the preseason. I will not doubt that by any stretch of imagination. But you have to wait. You have to wait, and you can't just put out an instant reaction and then delete your tweets and do whatever. I understand the frustration at that time. I mean, I was at a college event, so, I was preoccupied. But at least wait. If they kept Larson on the roster, then you have some grounds to complain on. But once again, both those guys are not on the roster anymore, so there's no need to complain. With that being said, we move to the defensive side of the ball. In terms of the defensive line, here are the following players that are on the roster as of right now. Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, Danny Shelton, Raymond Johnson. I didn't expect that, but shout outs to Raymond Johnson. He had a good preseason. And Austin Johnson, if I didn't mention him already. Apparently Elijah Qualls is a part of this roster. I honestly doubt it. So obviously the person I got it from did not update their cuts, and Elijah Qualls is no longer on the roster. So it's Williams, Lawrence, Shelton, Johnson, Johnson III, Raymond Johnson. Giants cut Willie Henry. They cut David Moa, who actually had a nice preseason. I thought he was going to make the roster. I was wrong on that. B.J. Hill was also traded to the Bengals, so I was wrong on that as well. You look at the edge position. Here are the players at the edge position for the New York Giants. Lorenzo Carter, Azeez Ojulari, O'Shane Ximenez, Ellerson Smith, Cam Brown, and Trent Harris. The ones that were cut were Fedio Denigbo, Ryan Anderson, and Nico Lalos. Lalos had an okay preseason. He's probably coming back on the practice squad. Trent Harris, other than probably the third game in the preseason, was excellent in camp. He was excellent in the preseason games. Shoutouts to him. Fedio Denigbo was extremely disappointing. Was supposed to be one of the better pass rushers in that young pass rush room. Obviously didn't fulfill the expectations. Carter, obviously. Ojulari, obviously. Ximenez, obviously. Smith, Cam Brown. I want to see what Ellerson Smith does for week 1, honestly. If he's healthy, he's healthy. If he's not healthy, he's not healthy. But they're probably not going to put him in too many situations if he is healthy week 1 because he's barely, played. He hasn't even practiced at a full legitimate length yet, and he didn't even play in the preseason games. So you move to the inside linebacker spot. Pretty much expected from here. Blake Martinez, Tate Crowder, Reggie Ragland, and Carter Coughlin. Devontae Downs was cut, and I was doing some victory laps. I'm not going to lie. I don't root for a player to be cut, but there is no way in hell I wanted this guy on the roster. Just pretty much terrible. Supposedly has some special teams value, but once again, I don't watch special teams film, but once again, I would question Joe Judge's evaluating skills. He was cut. In terms of the cornerback room, definitely some shockers here. Obviously, once again, things can change from today to tomorrow. James Bradbury, Darnay Holmes, Adoree Jackson, Aaron Robinson, he's going to the PUP list. He's staying on there, and he'll be out for the first 6 weeks of the season. Rodarius Williams, Keon Crossan, and Josh Jackson, and Sam Beal. The two shockers. Also, Madre Harper was cut. He was one of the guys in that room as well. In terms of Jackson and Sam Beal, I really thought Sam Beal was a long shot to make this roster. And I guess for right now, he impressed them enough to be on this roster for right now. He's good in the run game. He's an okay corner in the pass game. And I compare him to a cat because I think he's had 9 lives with this team. 2018, 2019, 2020, the injuries on and off and on and off. It's going to be a depth player situation. He's not going to start at corner anytime soon, so unless some major injuries happen. But I thought it was interesting. Obviously, the Giants supposedly know what they're doing in that. Do I like it necessarily? Not really, but I'm not going to question anything until he plays, until Josh Jackson plays, whatever. Josh Jackson was expected to be cut. Now, obviously, once again, I said with the Beal thing, things can change from here and from now to tomorrow. Josh Jackson has not practiced legitimately since he came to the Giants, and he had one practice, he got hurt, has not been fully practicing since then, which made it seem like he was going to be the ultimate bust. And, for right now, it looks like him and Yiadom are working out for the teams. Yiadom more so working out for the Packers because Jackson hasn't really practiced too much for the Giants. But it looks like the trade could work out on both sides if Jackson doesn't go to IR or if he doesn't get cut the next day for a waiver wire guy. In terms of safety, no surprises here. Ryan, as in Logan Ryan, Jabril Peppers, Xavier McKinney, Julian Love. The cut safeties were Chris Johnson and Jordan Peters. You look at the special teams, Graham Gano and Riley Dixon. Casey Kreider was cut, but he will probably re-sign tomorrow at a lower cap number. Now, for the last part of this video, we're going to go out and look at the positions and look at who made the roster just overall. In terms of the quarterback room, Mike Glennon and Daniel Jones. Wide receivers, Sterling Shepard, John Ross, Kadarius Toney, Dante Pettis, Kenny Galladay. Darius Slayton, C.J. Bortz, that's 7 wide receivers. In terms of the tight ends, Evan Ingram, who is questionable for week 1, Caden Smith, and Kyle Rudolph. Take a look at the offensive guard position. They got Ben Bredeson, Shane Lemieux, Will Hernandez, Billy Price. I'm pretty sure that's it from what I'm reading. In terms of the tackle spots, Matt Parrott, Nate Solder, and Andrew Thomas. So a pretty young room. I'm not going to lie there. Nate Solder's the oldest guy. Everyone else is probably in their early to late 20s. So I guess that's good for the Giants in terms of their depth and, high ceiling guys at a low age, in their 20s, young guys. I completely forgot the running back and fullback positions. I don't know why. But in terms of the running back position, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Booker, Gary Brightwell. In terms of the fullback room, Elijah Penny and Colin Gillespie. You take a look at the defensive line, Austin Johnson, Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, Danny Shelton, and Raymond Johnson. You take a look at the linebackers, primarily outside and inside, Lorenzo Carter, Trent Harris, Cam Brown. You take a look at some of the inside guys as well. Blake Martinez, Reggie Ragland, Carter Coughlin, Tate Crowder. And then the rest of the outside guys, Ellerson Smith, O'Shane Zimenez, and Azeez Ojulari. You take a look at the corner spot, James Bradbury, Darnay Holmes, Adoree Jackson, Rodarius Williams, Keon Crossan, Sam Beal, Josh Jackson. You take a look at the safety spot, Jabril Peppers, Julian Love, Logan Ryan, Xavier McKinney. Finally, punter Riley Dixon, kicker Graham Gano, and obviously Kreider will probably return tomorrow. If it's not him and if he gets picked up somehow, well, they're going to get another long snapper. So with that being said, guys, if you haven't already liked, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops, a video drops. More content coming out through the week, Yankees related, Giants related. Going to be a fun month of September. Hope you guys can enjoy the content that is put out. Obviously, thanks to all the new subscribers on the channel. Got couple of new ones after last night's Boys in the Big Apple. Peace out. See you later. Stay cool. And most of all, go Giants, go Yankees.